I was spotted by Professor Vikram Sarabhai because I was not highly qualified, but I was working hard. I was acquiring the knowledge. The greatest quality of a leader, whether political or scientist or technology or industry, when the success comes, the industry or the leader give the success to his team. When the failure comes, the leader absorbs the failure. This is the greatest quality in politics you need.
I remember in a roundtable interview a director saying that it was his dream to create a movie or show about India's rich history where he would be allowed to use the real names of some of the most prominent figures and be allowed to shed light on not only their small and big victories, but the most contentious issues that they underwent. In an era where most of our protagonists in commercial films and series were dreaded gangsters or those who get embroiled in the world of crime, in came a show that truly celebrated our country's heroes, Homi Bhabha, Vikram Sarabhai and APJ Abdul Kalam to name a few. It not only presented the massive contribution the individuals had on science and technology for India by putting it on a global map, but presented them as humans with flaws, juggling their personal lives while serving the nation. I reference this as an anomaly because when storylines focus on real-life characters, there is an attempt at whitewashing some of their most problematic traits, and Rocket Boys refreshingly isn't so. I was absolutely blown away by season 1, and on paper it may seem to many that the story of two scientists from Indian history may not be as dramatic or sexy enough for entertainment, but it is so far from the truth. As the constantly evolving new country that was India, with rapid political and sociological changes in the forefront, having these two visionaries actually accounted for the perfect template for an engaging web series that, in my opinion, every Indian should be privy to. With the increase in the number of theatrical releases happening every weekend, there seems to be a lack of interest in the digital space as series are coming out but are not creating the same buzz that it once did at the height of the pandemic. While the saturation of web shows might be one of the reasons, what's also happened is that the web space is becoming more mainstream. So the same way stars draw in crowds for theatres, the digital space is also getting the most viewership when stars have been roped in. Fuzzy and its success is a classic example of the same, and more will follow suit. Who suffers in the process are shows like Rocket Boys that are not getting the deserved attention, and I want to urge all of you that Rocket Boys isn't like any other generic show out there. It not only highlights the several profound and impactful moments in India's recent history, but provides a tale so emotionally gripping that you're bound to go into a wormhole reading about the finer details of what transpired in several chapters. The threat of the advancement of India this season becomes even more abundantly clear, not only because of the snakes that reside within the organization, but because of the international threats from the CIA. This makes Homi Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai wary of some of their moves, fearing not only their country's interests but their own security. The tenderness and sensitivity with which the personal lives of both the characters is explored really tugged at my heartstrings. Pipsy and Homi's relationship makes me think everyone will empathize with the notion that they have someone in their life that got away, and Mrinalini and Vikram, having gone through a torrid journey together in season 1, are in constant loggerheads with each other, attempting to reconnect to what was once a beautiful loving relationship. The show pays close attention this season to how the scientists have to maneuver with the rapid political changes occurring around them, how they pitch their ideas dependent on the personalities of the new leaders. Jawaharlal Nehru and the ease of interaction and banter is vastly different from what they experience with Lal Bahadur Shastri. The growing concern that everyone has as their eyes are on the Prime Ministership as Indira Gandhi deals with the loss of her father is so exceptionally portrayed. The show balances the act of moving across decades not only as checking boxes of history, but organically fitting the narrative of the screenplay. One may not particularly resonate with the espionage and conspiracy angle of the show as one deals with the spies in the system and the growing interest of the CIA about every move by Indian officials, but I thought it was done with great attention to detail, especially made convincing by exceptional performances by Debyendu Bhattacharya and K.C. Shankar. Jim Sarbh as Homi Bhabha honestly puts forth a performance for the ages, absolutely diving deep into Homi Bhabha, so much so that it equates to it really being him. His effortless charm, wit and love for the music and art, the vibrant personality that becomes the life of the room. I cannot praise Jim enough for what he brought to the table as Homi Bhabha. Ishwak Singh similarly brings such beautiful restraint to the morally upright Vikram Sarabhai. They really fit the puzzle together perfectly to play such legends, and I had this immense pleasure in interviewing both the actors for the show, which I thought I could share with you so that you have little more insight about how exceptionally talented both of them are. When the show did impact me so much on its sheer quality, I thought it would be best to first give you an insight into its quality and then give you a peek into Jim and Ishwak's process as actors and why I have such immense respect for both of them. I hope you really do like this interaction.
I wanted to really get into the both of your characters. I wanted to first start with you, Jim. Other than, okay, this is just my assumption of your personality, is you're creative, very naturally funny, bohemian in many ways. And I would feel that other than the Parsi connect with Homi Baba, was it hot butter on toast in terms of his personality and demeanor?
I think Abhay and I spend a lot of time thinking about how a person who is considered great, how a person that is considered extremely smart approaches a scene. Well, they don't approach a scene at all, but how do we approach depicting that character in the scene? So, sure, I feel you can never not be you. You are always you. You do your version of a character the best that you can. But what we tried to do is we tried to think a couple steps ahead. How does he approach a scene he has to give bad news in? How does he approach a scene where he's going to wind up being victorious at the end? How does he approach a scene where he's actually surprised in the middle of the scene? How does he show it? Does he show it? Does he hide it completely? Does he wait until the person is gone to reveal that actually he's completely surprised by that moment? So I hear what you're saying with the Parsi connection and all of those things. And of course, we drew from how I am in order to make the character, because I think everyone always constantly does that.
Yeah.
But no, I think real time and effort went into trying to think about how someone a lot smarter than the two of us would solve a problem. And the person solves it within seconds, and it took us days and sometimes weeks agonizing over how do we fix this problem. There's a problem here that Homi Baba fixes, but how do we figure out how he fixes it? And then when he does it instantaneously, you're like, oh, wow. So
yeah, I guess there's a brilliance in the man, and versus how you approach the man is another process in itself, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ishwak, for you, quite on the contrary, my perception of it, at least for Vikram Sarabhai, is there is a sense of restraint with his demeanor, a sense of dignified poise, if I may say. Is that quite a leap from how you are?
I mean, you know, I think our behavior changes depending on the environment that we're in. I can be very different from the character that you see on screen. A part of me is like that. I have a bit of a nerd in me, a bit of a calm academician, because I studied architecture and kind of my approach to work is also very research oriented. So it's that the fundamental work that he did, I kind of really related to. But at the same time, I think what Jim also said, I think you shouldn't encapsulate an actor's performance based on just because, you know, the background and basic things. The thing is that if something works, it is working at a human level. And along the way, as you go to work, you know, you just figure it out. You figure out things. As you start shooting, you figure out things. As you start rehearsing, doing scenes, you just get a sense of how this person is. Get a sense of his demeanor.
True.
It's not a replication of anything.
Yeah. And that journey, whatever it is, the processes both of you have done, I think it's come out really well and convincingly so. I wanted to tell you guys that unanimous sort of perspective that a lot of people have resonated with the show is sort of this understated celebration of India, a patriotism which is not chest thumping and the word that is utilized, a lot jingoistic. Was that something that was written in the screenplay that you resonated with?
I think we talked about the scene even earlier in the interview, but I think they really rubbed off on each other about it. I think Homi Bhabha was single-mindedly ambitious and driven, and he, thanks to the interaction with Vikram Sarabhai, learned how to, or realized that he wanted to apply it to the country.
Yeah.
And he found that actually, without that larger goal, without believing in something larger than yourself, it's harder to do the work. It's easier to do the work when it is a kind of service. You push yourself even more in a certain way when you're not only serving your ambition. So I think in that way, well, at least in the script, right from the beginning, it was always that. I think that when nationalism is exclusive, it becomes an issue. Whereas when it becomes us against them, ever, any country pitted against another country, it seems to be problematic in my opinion. However, patriotism, in order to just better things for the lives of the people around you, how can that ever be bad? That's only good. And a healthy competition between countries for each one trying to better their own will only help and make things grow. And actually, it'll allow more free scientific trade. If they are dedicated to anything, these two men, they're dedicated to science. And we know already that for science, the whole point is to better the technology so the world gets that technology, not just necessarily a country. That's why they have open source technologies. Homi Bhabha was fascinated by this guy, Dr. Bose, this guy that invented he was the first person that was able to recognize that plants had reacted to stimuli and that they are alive. And Homi Bhabha was fascinated with him, particularly because he was the first person to do more or less open source patents. He never patented his work. He always wanted more people to be able to access the technology, access the methodology for the technology, and improve upon it. He believed it was for the betterment of mankind in general.
And for generations ahead. So,
absolutely.
No, that is beautiful. And I feel like there's so much more than both these individuals represent. And I think one of the biggest talking points, especially on why people were connecting with the content so much, was there was a sense of lethargy that was kicking in from the audience that I was reading online, talking about how a lot of the protagonists were Reddit gangsters as the protagonists whom we should empathize with, and how Rocket Boys came as such a refreshing change of barely scratching the surface of, starting with these celebrated individuals, and there's so many more stories that haven't been told. Is that something, Ishwak, that really resonated with you or connected with you?
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, I think apart from the writing, what I found very inspiring, why I was hooked and really believed in this story was the theme, the one-line theme that you are paying homage to the fathers of Indian science. And it's a service not just to the scientific community, but the entire country in that sense, because of what they've achieved for all of us. We're still reaping the benefits.
This is being transmitted online because of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai.
Oh yes, of course.
I mean, everyone has electricity in India because of Dr. Homi Bhabha. I mean, it's incredible.
It's insane.
Incredible. Of course, and their entire teams and the people that came before that lay the pathways for them to continue forward. But incredible.
I think also what, at least for me personally, why I fell in love with the series so much was because it was, one, their accomplishments, what they've contributed to India, but it also took a deep dive into their personal lives on how they are flawed men. And I felt like it was a triple whammy.
They are men.
Exactly.
Yeah. All men are flawed.
And for me, I was thinking about this.
Flawed. Sorry for interrupting.
But it is such a rarity, Jim. I have to say, especially when it comes to biopics, especially when it comes to real life people being portrayed. There is such a whitewashing of a lot of characters, showcasing beats of their lives which were perfect. And this, even though it is real, it is such a rarity.
The phrase I'd use is that they were just human. And again, credit goes to our writer, Abhay Pannu, who took this bold decision to write the characters the way they were, and not put up any facade.
The history that you guys have had with theatre, I was watching a recent Alan Rickman interview, and he was talking about acting is a lot of reacting listening and reacting. I wanted to just ask from a co-actor standpoint, how important is that from just a craft standpoint on what he exactly meant by that? Is that statement, does that connect with you from an acting standpoint?
Absolutely right.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no debate there. I mean,
it's about active listening and then reacting to whatever you heard.
100%.
Right?
And how we speak just now, you're not going to do it just now because we're not in the middle of a conversation. It's an interviewee relationship at the moment. But even now, the way I came in right at the button of the end of your sentence is because I know already halfway through where it's going to end because I've been listening carefully. Like the was timed like button of the end of my sentence. And I think when you become stuck in acting patterns, you want to wait, let the line finish, think a little, what is my reaction, and then move forward. When actually I think most communication is a lot faster than we imagine it to be.
Yeah.
And that's because we're so good at it. Actually, people, they have careers and they can be good at their careers, but what people actually know is other people. That's actually what everyone here is an expert on, is reading other people. That's how we get all of our information. That's how we get through our lives constantly. And that kind of active listening and reacting is just, to me, everything. It makes or breaks the scene. It can be solved. You can fix it on the edit.
Yeah.
But for it to feel that we did something,
Yeah.
it has to be that.
This is coming from probably a naive standpoint. Does the muscle being warmed up with your history with theatre help? The both of you.
For sure. I mean, in my guess, for sure, it's you know, the amazing thing about stage work is that while you're doing a play over and over, I mean, one way to do it, of course, you craft it, you fix the beats, but then every play is like every shot. In that sense, that every different shot, you need to keep that freshness, to keep that honesty alive. There's something, you need to keep listening, you need to keep finding the motivation that is unspent at that point.
Is that a medium that you always go back to, the stage?
I haven't been back in a while. What I was just going to add something is that I don't think it's necessary. I think that there are very reactive, very good actors who've only ever worked in film.
For sure.
And they know that craft really well, and they know just other things about how to enhance your performance. Like, for example, things that I take for granted of how to enhance a performance on stage. What are those power positions where I know people are going to look at me over somebody else, or I kind of just know them through experience. Similarly, there are actors that just know certain things. In certain speeches, you look at only one eye. In certain speeches, you don't look between the two eyes. You know, these kinds of things. Depending on where the camera is, you pick which eye is going to look better for you. If the camera is there, I should probably look at that eye than that eye, because it'll close off one half of me to that camera. Things like that you kind of just learn from experience.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they're highly reactive, highly open to whatever the scene is. So I don't think it's necessary to have done theatre in order to be able to do it. But what I will say about what I've learned from theatre is that it is harder. It is harder. I have seen shows or films where I've been there. So I know this actor is not very strong because they can't seem to do it, and they look great on camera, like fixed with edit. You know, it's just like, wow, wow. I would not have imagined that. On stage, everyone knows. Everyone knows, from the person helping backstage to the person in the last row. You're like, this person today could not do it. Maybe on other days they can do it, you know. I think it's harder. I think it's really the marathon versus sprint kind of scenario.
Because from the scene to post-production, there's so much that goes into refining that, right? Whereas while you're there on stage, the audience reacts immediately.
Absolutely. That tiny little music you can add right when you need to add that emotion. So then you perceive that that's what you saw in the person's face. Because and that's straight up, what's that guy? That Russian first inventor of films. He did an experiment.
Okay.
You know this experiment, old experiment, the power of cutting and the power of films. So he had a person's face, and then right after that, he'd cut to a bowl of soup, and he'd have a person's face right after to a crying baby, a person's face right after to a attractive woman walking by. Showed the same thing to 5 people. The people who saw the soup said he was hungry. The people who saw the woman said he was lusting after her, and the people who saw the baby were like, he's so sensitive. Same face.
Yeah.
All 3 same face.
Editing can do some magic.
You can really do magic with editing. It is an incredible art form. And shout out to Mahir Zaveri, who...
Oh yeah, 100%.
Wow, what an editor.
No. It is so well done. I wanted to conclude by asking the both of you, you guys have got so much love digitally in the last 3 or 4 years with the shows that you've done. Is there one particular thing of, if you are actively watching feature films coming out in Hindi, if you are, that you would want to change of the stories that are coming to you?
I think it's a mix of stories that I've got. I honestly, I feel that I've been very lucky. The kind of content I've got, not just shows, but the films, a few films that I did last year, it all resonated with me in terms of, it was authentic to his genre. It was something that I feel that I could give something to the character, and gave me something back. There's all of that. So there's interesting work happening.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because we would love to see you in both formats, the both of you, more often, because I think that platform also deserves it, rather than us just seeing.
You gotta see that who are the people who are making OTT shows.
Yeah.
It is the people who are making movies. It's just that now they have concepts that need longer format.
True.
Or they always had those stories where they wanted to delve deeper. And from that point of view, I don't see it as a binary, really.
Okay.
I don't see it as, 2 different entities.
Me neither.
I guess the reason why I asked this is because there's becoming a clear segregation with them because of the kind of movies that come out every Friday. And now they're being even more of a situation where people are only stepping in for the event film. And a lot of those theatrical releases
What's the event film?
The event film is like a Pathan.
Okay.
That would be the event film.
Okay.
And now it's almost like the theater going audience is that once a month that I'm going to step outside the theater. Otherwise, there's enough compelling work coming out digitally. So my question...
Sure. I guess post-pandemic, consumer habits have changed.
People got so used to being at home.
Yes. We are in this interesting phase. I would call it an interesting phase. I don't know what's there in the future, whether cinema halls will get filled up again with smaller films, all kinds of movies, the multiplex culture is going to come back or not. But I know one thing for sure, that it is a very interesting phase. It's a transition. Everyone's figuring it out. And, instead of drawing conclusions right now, the best is to just go to work and, be a part of this exciting phase and enjoy it.
The best thing someone said is no one knows anything.
That's true.
These theories go out of the window every Friday.
Some new film will come out, people will be like, this is the way. Yeah. Then people will start to make films like that. Then there'll be imitations, no one will like them. Then some other film will come out, they'll be like, this is the way. It's like, well, all you have to do is make a really good story with an authentic voice and people will like it.
100%. 100%. And we wish for more of the same with season 2. And congratulations again, and you deserve all the love. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jamwal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.